Lil Uzi Vert's scary performance at Rolling Loud.
What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, you guys don't know what we do, let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scary and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who come back into the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. I really appreciate it, man. You guys are helping us grow and expand the seekers. That's a big task I'm asking of you guys, man. So found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Say it with me, y'all. Y'all know what we do. That's our favorite thing we love to do, man. Every single day watching these videos for you guys. Let's seek the truth.
This mother was found brutally murdered while her quadruplet toddlers were found covered in her blood. Sheila Bellish was a mother of 6. She had her 2 older daughters from a previous marriage with a man named Alan Blackthorne. After her divorce, she then had her 4 beautiful toddlers right here with this man named Jamie Bellish. On the evening of November 7th, 1997, Sheila was found by her oldest daughter here. After she came home from school, she saw her mother on the floor with her throat slit, and her 4 younger siblings, the quadruplets, were literally crawling all over their mother's blood. Now, when you see this family, they look perfect and happy, but Sheila's past with her ex-husband is very messy. This is Sheila's ex-husband, Alan Blackthorne, and he made her life a living nightmare. So much so that she had to move her entire family from Texas all the way to Florida just to get away from him. Alan was very rich, and a lot of people described him as obnoxious and just a shitty person, but after his divorce with Sheila, he owed her over $1 million for their divorce settlement. He was not happy about that at all, so he hired this man, Jose Luis del Toro, to take Sheila's life. Jose broke into Sheila's house where no one was there except for her and her 4 toddlers, and he watched as she interacted with her babies, and he said that at one point he wanted to leave because he felt bad, but then he ended up just going through with it and he took her life. This case is extremely devastating. These 4 toddlers were forced to grow up without their mother, and then the daughter who basically saw her mother in that state, which no child should ever have to, and then not only did they lose their mother, but they also lost their father through this process. Alan Blackthorne was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in federal prison without the possibility of parole. And the hitman, Jose Luis del Toro, he did avoid the death penalty. Instead, he was given life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The rarest photos ever taken.
Evil story.
Part 2. Photographer Herbert Vander Beek captured this insanely rare moment of a jaguar diving underwater to catch its prey. Unlike domesticated cats, jaguars love the water and are known to be excellent swimmers. In 1932, Dr. Eric Solomon faked a broken arm so that he could sneak a camera in his cast to photograph the Supreme Court. It's one of only 2 existing photos of the Supreme Court in session. Here's an amazing photo of a diver at Silfra Fissure in Iceland touching both North America and Europe at the same time. This is an extremely rare view of people peeking out the balcony of the Statue of Liberty. This area has been closed to the public since 1916 due to terrorist threats. A Florida photographer captured this incredible image of an owl raising a duckling after mistaking the egg for its own. Concerned that the owl would eat the duckling once it realized the situation, a local wildlife sanctuary agreed to take care of the baby bird when they had the chance to steal it from the owl's nest.
Those are some crazy
Facts
pictures.
that can one day save your life. If your hair suddenly stands up, run for cover because you're about to be hit by lightning. If a tornado ever looks like it's not moving, run or take cover because it is actually moving towards you.
Wow.
If a service dog approaches you without its owner, follow them and do it quickly because you can save someone else's life. The more colourful the animal is, the more likely it's poisonous and you should never touch it.
Things that will happen in the next 24 hours on Earth, Part 1, 231
Okay.
25,000 babies will be born. 22 million people will celebrate their birthday. There will be 8.6 million lightning strikes. Chickens will lay 190 million eggs. Toilets around the world will be flushed 22 billion times.
Damn.
100,000 trees will be cut down for paper bags and toilet paper alone. 200 different plants or animal species will become extinct. Your heart will beat over 100,000 times. 15 million cigarettes will be sold around the world, and 20,000 people will die of smoking. Follow for more facts.
That last fact, man, is actually chilling, bro. 15 million cigarettes, it's gonna be sold, but look at the freaking total of what's gonna happen, man. And people are making billions of dollars off that industry. But it's costing people, man, everything. You guys think that's right or wrong, bro? It's people choices, man, but they seem to be benefiting off of that. I don't know. It's an edit. We know how to spot them easily now, man. I think we're at the expert level of calling out the edits. Are you guys at the expert level yet?
Animal facts that'll make you see the world a little differently. The only reason tigers are orange is because the animals on their grocery list are Helen Keller to the color. So if you're something like a deer, this is what the biggest cat in the world and a striped Uber to the afterlife looks like. Polar bears have black skin. The only reason they look white is because their fur is translucent and hollow. And with hollow hair, light bounces off of them and reflects enough to look like an aggressive piece of snowdrift. Flamingos are naturally pink. The color comes from the carotenoid pigments in the shrimp and algae they eat. If they didn't eat it, they'd look like an IKEA kitchen, just 50 shades of bland. If you move like Bugs Bunny and start ODing on carrots, the same thing can happen to you, but instead of pink, you turn a shade of orange. If you think an orca's eyes are here, you fall for their trap card. It's actually right there. The giant white patches are false eyes to trick any prey that tries to fight back. It's just devious. This is a black bear. Let me explain. This is a black bear with a mutation called Gnosticism that basically turns it into a shiny Pokemon. Matter of fact, all three of these are black bears, and I can't even be mad. I'm black and I'm proud, but I'm black and I'm brown, at least according to Crayola. Bulls hating the color red is a myth. Mostly because bulls can't even see the color red, but chickens do, and because their instinct is to attack the color red, you're more likely to get pressed by a pack of poultry if you cosplay as the Kool-Aid Man. The more you know.
I'm telling you, the devil is in the music. Listen to this song right here. Do you hear it? Do you remember listening to this song and hearing it?
Mercy?
Bet you didn't know what it said. Watch this.
Cheap money. I think I've heard Mercy before, yeah. The secret messages in the song, man.
When are you going to understand that the devil is in the music? He promotes his dysfunction to these people who aren't following God. If you're not following God, you can be easily influenced by the devil to do what he wants to do through you. So be with the Lord, and if you stand for Jesus, type in the comments, I stand for Jesus, and share this with a friend.
This is what humans will look like in
know what to
1,000
do.
and a million years. And I promise you the ending will shock the shit out of you. We will most likely be part human, part machine. Having small nanobots inside of us so that we are not limited by the bodies that we're born in. And most likely even robotic features to increase your eyesight, hearing, physical strength and agility. So a cross between a Terminator and a fucking Jedi. We will next have perfect genes. Scientists are already working on a gene editing technique called CRISPR. It sounds like a Chris company. Literally allowing us to build healthier humans from birth to make sure there are no diseases or birth defects. Also, there's a chance that we'll leave death behind completely. Aye. No more! By literally scanning your brain into a computer. We are all Siri. We basically all be superheroes. Speaking of which, what superpower would you want? Let me know in the comments. But here's the kicker. 1 million years, what in the fuck are we gonna look like? Well, this is just in 100,000 years. Loki, kinda like it. And then 1 million years. What the fuck are you doing? Cheers for the friends and let them know what they're gonna look like one day. Everyone with me? Elon!
I don't want to look like that, but that looks like the freaking end of the freaking God Emperor Doom, that character, bro. I don't want to look like that in a million years. They trying to freaking put all this nanotechnology in our bodies and stuff, man. It's happening before our eyes. And they trying to mess with the chromosomes too, trying to make the, I guess, the perfect human. It ain't worth it, man. Don't mess with something that's not intended to be messed with. That's what I say.
Ariana Grande claims that she was attacked by a demon. Watch this.
Wow, Ariana Grande has got a real problem with demons, she told Complex magazine. Apparently, she went to a haunted cemetery called Stall Cemetery near Kansas City.
And it's actually supposedly one of the gateways to hell, supposed gateways to hell. And this is what she said happens. I felt this sick, overwhelming feeling of negativity over the whole car, and we smelled sulfur, which is the sign of a demon.
Who knew?
She said, this is scary, let's leave. I rolled down the window before we left and said, we apologize. We didn't mean to disrupt your peace. Then I took a picture, and there are 3 super distinct faces in the picture. They're faces of textbook demons.
Hollywood is full of demons. But that doesn't have to be you. Subscribe for more. And check the video I pinned in the comments about how to get rid of demons.
Beware, man. Like I said, Hollywood's full of them, bro. Come all shapes and sizes, man. Receivers going on right now on the side of Hollywood, so I'd stay away from that. Guess I had it. We know how to call them out.
2024 just got even crazier, part 16. Firstly, a Canadian man who was about to go on an upcoming camping trip used Google Maps to see the area that he was going to be camping. Well, while on Google Maps, the man discovered this, and experts believe that the man just discovered a very possible ancient meteor impact while on Google Maps. The fact that he found this using Google Maps is wild. Next, also in Canada, a woman who was at a barbecue started playing with these water guns with a child. Well, while playing with the water guns, she accidentally sprayed the neighbor who was cutting grass next door. Well, the man got angry and called the police, and somehow the woman was charged with assault with a weapon. Finally, a 57-year-old man was about to have burgers when the burgers were frozen together. So he got a kitchen knife to separate the burgers, but while he tried to separate them, he accidentally stabbed himself, and the man unfortunately passed away. R.I.P. This is horrible.
Yo, what's up? This is the scariest facts about everyday
crazy.
life, part 1. A regular office desk contains 400 times more bacteria than a toilet does. That's disgusting. In only 1 pound of peanut butter, there can be over 150 bug fragments and over 5 rodent hairs. That means rat hairs and insects. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.5 years. But if you watch it for more than 5 or 6 hours a day, you could shorten your life expectancy by 5 years. That's insane.
Dang.
This one scared me a little bit because I do wear a lot of rings, but under those rings can contain as many as 730 million germs. That's the size of Europe. And the fact that I wear my rings every day kind of concerns me because it could get me sick. The last one's going to be 15% of the air you breathe in just an average metro station is human skin. So you're breathing in everybody's skin around you, which is kind of terrifying.
It's bizarre too. What the hell? Man, we're range wearers, man.
Beware. Facts is the hardest to believe. It takes sunlight 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to the earth. The reason why doctors flip the syringe before giving you a shot is to remove air bubbles. This is because air bubbles can block your blood, so make sure the doctor flicks the syringe. If you get anxious every time you hear a knock on the door or hear your phone ring, it is because you do not have enough serotonin in your body. A lot of people suffer from phantom vibration syndrome, which is when you feel your phone vibrating when it actually isn't. Now, if you were offered a new phone but it meant having to kiss the second person that comes up when you click share and then WhatsApp, would you take it? Research shows that most people in the world choose blue as their favorite color. Comment your favorite color. You can go to prison for cheating on an exam in Bangladesh. Of more.
Here's what would happen if the world lost oxygen for 5 seconds. Any mode of transport that isn't electric will fail. Planes will fall out of the sky and millions of cars will be stopped in their tracks. Our ears would explode due to the sudden change in air pressure as oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere. In just 5 seconds, the Earth would look completely different. You can say goodbye to anything made of concrete as these structures rely on oxygen as a special binding agent. If you're at the beach, then expect a severe sunburn as there would be nothing protecting us from the sun's UV rays. The Earth's crust would crumble as it is made up of 45% oxygen, sending everyone on the planet into a freefall. Comment if you think you could survive.
The way he just described, I don't think nobody could, bro. If you do, you're a damn superhero or something, man. I didn't realize, man, oxygen in real life holds everything together. The ground beneath our feet, everything.
Morbid Facts, part 415. Found in a jungle cave in 1867, a feral boy named Dina Sanichar preferred eating raw meat, had trouble standing on two legs, growled like a wolf, chewed on bones to sharpen his teeth, and never learned how to speak. He eventually became the inspiration for Mowgli in the Jungle Book. In 2016, 11-year-old Nebraska girl Lulu Gilreath was going on her first carnival ride when it quickly turned into anyone's worst nightmare. Her hair got caught in the machinery of a spinning ride at a carnival, and her scalp was almost completely torn off. The horrible accident damaged both of her eyes and nearly killed her. After World War II, Japanese General Hitoshi Imamura was sentenced to 10 years in prison after failing to control his unit, which committed horrible atrocities toward Allied soldiers. Believing that his own sentence was too light compared to the men under his command, Imamura built a replica prison in his garden where he stayed for decades until his death in 1968.
Lil Uzi Vert's scary performance at Rolling Loud.
You were today years old
That'd
when
have been
you found these out. If you scratch the inside of your ear with your finger, it sounds like Pac-Man. Okay, if you think about it, at any point in history, you had an ancestor living no matter what. Your car keys have traveled further than your car. I was today years old when I realized there isn't a skeleton inside of you. You are the brain, so you're inside the skeleton. It's actually proven that a midday nap can reduce your chance of a heart attack by 37%. You've never actually watched a full movie because you blink. And did you know dogs can smell cancer? Dogs are able to pick up on a specific scent that cancer produces in a person, which is undetectable to humans.
Whoa.
Darkest performances.
Okay. Did she legit do that, man? We know Hollywood, the music scene is into some weird things. But to really just be doing it in front of our eyes and people just dismissing it, that's crazy, man. How it can literally be happening in front of our eyes, but sometimes people, they dismiss it. They say, oh, it's part of the show or something like that. But no, sometimes like these artists, they know what they're doing. And they're trying to like make us try to be a part of it, man. And we the innocent ones, we don't know what's going on, but that's why you gotta pay attention, I guess, to the music you listen to and the things you watch, because there's always hidden messages. I learned that watching that together with you guys, Seekers. Weekend.
Everyone, but no one noticed it.
Every one of the major artists, bro.
We need to talk about the infamous Russian pedophile and snuff film ring. So just so I'm factually correct, here's the article I'm talking about here. So in the year 2000, a massive scandal rocked Russia. In that year, Russian authorities uncovered a pedophile ring that ran all the way from Russia to the United States. There were over 5,000 members that were busted in different countries, but the exact details of these crimes are really hard to stomach, so viewer discretion is advised. Obviously, the police and authorities had to watch some of this content that was uncovered, and what they saw was absolutely disturbing. They saw hundreds of different children being abused by groups of men, and on top of that, after the abuse was over, these children were then brutally tortured and killed on camera. Now, something extremely disturbing is that these videos made over $470 million worth of revenue. Just stop and think about that for 1 second. Just stop and think about how much money that is that people were paying to watch these videos. There were people in the US purchasing these tapes, there were people in the Middle East, people in Russia, people in Italy. And in fact, when they were covering this news story, 2 European TV stations accidentally broadcast images and video from the tapes. Graphic, uncensored material. Obviously, the whole team that was involved in that was fired. But the police officers and authorities who actually worked on this case have gone on the record and said every single night since then they still hear children screaming in their dreams. So these rings operated throughout many different countries, including Italy, Russia, all throughout the Middle East. And what the authorities think they were doing was snatching children out of orphanages and even at times targeting kids when they walked away from their parents at the circus. Now, thankfully, Hundreds of people were arrested after this was uncovered and justice was dealt. And thankfully, Russia's prison system is pretty brutal, so I'm sure that the men who were put in there for these crimes got the justice that they deserved. But this is absolutely frightening because this stuff is still happening today in 2024. It's not just happening in Europe, it's happening in America. There's so much more we could get into here. But yeah, we need to continue to talk about this stuff to raise awareness that this is happening.
I thought that the French protests were unhinged before, but this might be the single most hilarious way of protesting I've ever seen. As we all know, Paris is hosting the Summer Olympics, but a lot of French people aren't very happy about that. Because, and I only found out about this today, the Olympics is kind of a scam when it comes to a country actually making money. Don't get me wrong, it's great for global street cred, but, for example, when China hosted it, they made a net loss of 36.4 billion, and London made a net loss of 13 billion, and that's all taxpayer money. So when the public heard that France has already spent over 5 billion, and then that Macron wanted to spend another billion just to clean up the Seine River, so it looks good for the Olympics, they lost it, and the I shit in the Seine River protest began. On the 23rd of June, the French President Macron and the Paris mayor plan to take a ceremonial swim in the river to show off just how clean it is. So the protesters are now planning a defecation flash mob because, and I quote, after putting us in shit, it's up to them to bathe in our shit. Oh, and if you don't live in Paris, no bloody problem, because someone created this website. You type in how many kilometers you are away from Paris, and using a water flow algorithm, it will tell you precisely the day and the exact time you need to fit into the river to reach Paris at the time Macron will be swimming in it. Oh, I told you, and that is why I say, if you work the night,
that's insane, bro. Did they actually do that?
A nurse and his co-workers are working the night shift when they decide to explore a closed-down area of the ER that's believed to be haunted by the spirit of a boy who passed away in one of the rooms. As they make their way there, they find this creepy-looking doll by the work desk, but continue exploring. Now, looking for a scare, they arrive at the room that's haunted by the spirit of the boy, and this happens.
Yeah, of course you're gonna see.
Some brave souls. Would you guys do that? Not me. I ain't exploring that. That late at night? Deuces, I'm out.
Oh! The curtain moved! Yeah, it did. It moved. It moved. Yes, it did. It did. How do you not see that?
The curtain? Oh, hell yeah. They said we out. People who do that are freaking brave souls, man. Exploring over those dark entities, dark passages. I don't think I'm that type of person. I ain't even want to risk it.
Another song written by the devil? Watch this. Now, if you believe the devil definitely wrote that song, better follow or subscribe.
People who
it's all
went
in the music.
missing and were found alive years later. In 2011, 2 fishermen from Kiribati were lost at sea for 33 days before they landed on the Marshall Islands. And when they arrived, locals took them to meet the only person on the island who spoke their language. Well, the fishermen then discovered that the only person who spoke the language was one of the fishermen's uncles who went missing 50 years earlier, who also got lost at sea. He was thought to be dead, but it turned out the uncle was perfectly fine and had a whole new life. Next, in 1997, a family in China had their young son abducted outside their home. And when an official search couldn't find their son, the father started his own search. So for the next 2 decades, he would travel all over China on motorbikes with flags of his son and would hand out flyers everywhere. And 24 years after he spent all of his life savings, his son was finally found. Props to that father. Did the Olympics just create a parody of Jesus' Last Supper with drag queens? Well, that
question being asked after last night's Olympic ceremony took place. And in a couple of the acts, someone claiming that religious imagery was used, like the golden calf, the fourth horseman, and one scene in particular is being compared to Leonardo da Vinci's mural of Jesus and his 12 disciples. In the scene, broadcast cameras pan out on a number of drag queens standing behind a raised stage, with one in the middle wearing a piece on her head that is likened to religious drawings of a halo with lines of light emanating out of it. Some outraged with this scene said this is extremely disrespectful to Christians, and that the Olympics declared loudly that the 2.4 billion Christians on Earth are not welcome. But others say that those offended are just reading too much into it. And the organizers stated that the performance was to make us aware through a humoristic and poetic song the absurdity of violence between human beings. So the question is, what do you think? Was this scene intentional or merely a coincidence?
What do you guys think, Seekers? I know the Olympics is gonna pass, but is that intentional, or they say, well, two people was reading into it? I need to see. I gotta start standing below on that one.
Christian movement believed that the Christian God was evil. I am, of course, speaking about Gnosticism. Now, Gnosticism refers to a range of different ideas that emerged around the first few centuries of Christianity. Much of what we knew about Gnosticism was actually lost. Our knowledge of it mostly came from those that criticized it. Well, at least until 1945, as that is when Gnostic texts were discovered in Egypt. Now, the creation story in these texts is what's interesting. Now, I'm basically going to be presenting a very brief summary of the summary by the scholar known as David Bracken. The Gnostics believed that reality was originally just a single supreme God, so complex that our human minds wouldn't be able to comprehend it. But over time, this God started to produce other deities known as eons. It produced quite a few, and they were basically in pairs, having a male and female counterpart. Now, they all existed within this great spiritual realm. But here's where things got a little messy. One of these eons was referred to as Wisdom, or Sophia, and she decided to reproduce without a male counterpart. So she reproduced asexually. And while it worked, her offspring was this deformed, twisted creature known as the demiurge. It was deformed, twisted, and evil, right? So what did the other eons do? They cast it out. It's put in isolation away from the spiritual realm. In its isolation, it decided to create its own realm, right? So it decided to create its own eons and later our reality. But it convinced its creations that it was the supreme God. There was nothing beyond him, forcing its creations to worship it. But because it's so imperfect, its creations are imperfect, which is why our world is full of suffering and pain, according to the Gnostics. And according to the Gnostics, the demiurge is the God of the Old Testament. So the goal of the Gnostics, at least those that believed in this creation myth, was to realize the reality of our existence. Of course, Christians didn't really like this whole conspiracy theory about them, so that's why Gnostic texts are so rare. They were burnt, destroyed throughout history. Now, this is a very brief summary. There's a lot more to it, but perhaps I'll make more videos about it soon.
People Who Are 1 in a Million, Part 2. This is Gary Turner, but he's better known as the Elastic Man. He has a medical condition that causes his skin to be so stretchy that he can stretch the skin from his neck over his mouth. Next is Nanya Su, who's a boy with perfect night vision. His parents both have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes that glow when a light is shined. He claims that it's hard to see during the day, but while everyone sees this at night, this is what he sees. This is Paul Karasik, the real-life Papa Smurf. To fix his skin condition, he would drink silver and rub it on his skin every day, causing him to turn irreversibly blue. Finally, this man came into the hospital with severe chest pain, and doctors were shocked when they discovered he had 2 hearts, and he had suffered a double heart attack.
Whoa. pattern.
This truck driver took the life of 5 people because he was distracted on TikTok. The morning of January 12, 2023, 36-year-old Danny Tyner was driving on Interstate 10 in Arizona when he drove his tractor trailer in to stop the traffic. This scene is so difficult to look at, but basically his truck sandwiched 2 other cars with another big truck at the front. These are the 5 victims that lost their lives on that day, and when Danny was asked what happened, he said that he looked down for a couple of seconds because he got a notification on his work tablet, and when he looked back up, there was not enough time to brake. But that wasn't true. When his phone was analyzed, it showed that he was actively using TikTok when the crash happened. Now, what I found disturbing was that during his interaction with police, he didn't seem too fazed. He was eventually charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for each count of negligent homicide, which totaled to 22.5 years.
This is the tragedy.
Man, I'm telling you guys, when you out driving, man, just do not be informed, man. Like I said, social media is a distraction, man. That's basically what it was made for. So why would you even attempt to even like look at it while you're driving, bro? That's just doesn't make sense to me. Look at the result of what happened, man. Multiple senses, man, because you just wanted to scroll on TikTok, man. TikTok cannot be, well, we know it's that addicting, man, where you just want to keep scrolling and scrolling, but you drive and you don't have that luxury.
Tragic story of the Boy Scout who made his entire neighborhood radioactive. Nicknamed the Nuclear Boy Scout, David Hahn was a teenager from Michigan who was obsessed with nuclear radiation. When he was only 15, David attempted to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard shed, using radioactive material from household items including vintage clocks, smoke detectors, and gun sights. Within 2 years, David had built a functioning reactor which gave off enough radiation to be detected throughout his entire neighborhood.
Damn.
David was soon caught by police when they found hazardous materials in his car during a routine stop and thought he was building an atomic bomb. When David's shed was raided by the EPA, they determined that his project had created dangerous levels of radiation, leading them to dismantle the building and classify it as hazardous waste. This mugshot from 2006 shows David covered in sores as a result of his extensive exposure to radiation. This, combined with continuous legal and mental health issues, led to David's early passing at the age of 39 from an accidental overdose.
Wanted to become like Adam Man or something.
Superpowers, Part 2. The super coffee drinker, BDNF. Carriers of this gene remain completely unaffected to the effects of caffeine from coffee, and can often easily get a night's sleep after drinking a cup. The perfect memory gene, HSAM. If you are lucky enough to be born with this gene, you will have almost a perfect memory. However, it's extremely rare with only 25 confirmed cases. The super sprinter gene, ACTN3. People with these genes are able to run extra fast, as these genetics give your muscles a higher flexing rate, which gives them more explosive power.
Speed
the
got that.
Immunity gene, ALDH2. Having this super rare gene will mean you will never be able to experience being drunk with your friends, and you might have a lot of explaining to do, as it gives you total immunity from the effects of being drunk.
Imagine if everybody had that, the world would be a safer place, man. Everybody's immune to alcohol. Whew. And the speed definitely got the freaking sprinter gene, bro. I know what I'm talking about. He's too fast. That's the only explanation.
This is how rare your body is compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle. It's this little bump on the outside of your ear. And it's said that people who have this are better at sensing voice tonality. 10% of people also have what's called Morton's toe. This is where your big toe is shorter than the toe next to it. Only 26% of people have a narrator inside their head. Most people don't hear a voice when they think. What's even more rare is only 5% of people have their tongues tied to their mouth. I thought everyone had this. Everyone flares their nostrils subconsciously, but only 30% of people can do it on command. Less than 1% of people have unbreakable bones, making you basically superhuman. Only about 35% of people can gleek, and only 1% can do it on command. And gleeking is when you squirt saliva from underneath your tongue.
Any secretary, can you guys gleek, bro? I've seen that before. I've always wanted to know what that was, man. I finally got an answer. It's called gleeking, bro. Shoot saliva through your tongue. That's a very, I guess, rare skill set. You got any gleekers, man, in the comments? Oh, that's insane, bro.
This incident has made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who is a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS. You don't need to touch her.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad, because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
People who are 1 in a million.
Explained it
This girl's
perfectly.
name is Fang, and she is over 100 years old. But a few years ago, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. At first, it started off small, but now it's grown up to 6 centimeters in length. But the craziest part is, she's actually starting to grow a second horn on the other side. And doctors have offered to remove it from her head, but she refuses. Before I show you the craziest one, I just found a way you can find your celebrity lookalike, and apparently I look like Mr. Beast. If you want to know who your celebrity lookalike is, just press this link in the comments. Next up is Nong Yasoi, and he has perfect night vision. And the strange part about this is both his parents have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes. When everyone else sees darkness, he sees perfectly in the middle of the night.
The rarest things found on Earth. This is a red diamond, and it is one of the rarest material known to man. Because of that, they are way more expensive than normal diamonds. This tiny one is worth around $25 million.
Damn.
And this is a corpse flower. It's basically a giant flower that smells like rotting flesh, and it can only be found in remote areas in Indonesia. Imagine having one of these in your garden. And this small and beautiful sea creature is a blue dragon. It's only a few inches big, but it eats deadly jellyfish every day for food.
The more you know. I want that freaking red diamond.
A Russian scientist
You gotta find
injected
it.
himself with this ancient bacteria to see what would happen. Dr. Anatoly Brushkov discovered bacteria deep within the permafrost of Siberia that was 3.5 million years old, and somehow it was still alive. It was named Bacillus F, and after doing some experiments on it, he realized the bacteria not only seemed to be immune to aging, but also appeared to have a life-extending effect on almost every organism it touched. He tested the strain on female mice, who were able to continue reproducing into old age, much older than the average mice could, and when he exposed it to crops, they grew faster and were more frost resistant. The town of Yakut, Siberia, close to where this bacteria was found, also happens to be one of the coldest human settlements on Earth, with their population reporting longer lifespans than average humans, perhaps due to Bacillus F leaking into their water supply. Dr. Brushkov was so convinced, he said "F it" and injected himself with the ancient bacterium to test it out firsthand. 2 years later, he reported dramatic improvements to his general health, claiming to need less sleep, working longer hours, and just having more energy in his day-to-day life. He also allegedly hasn't gotten sick since he injected himself with it, with him and his colleagues starting to call it the elixir of life. Dr. Brushkov did this in 2013 and claims to be in the best health of his life today. And I'm sure Big Pharma loves the idea of a miracle life potion that would potentially lose them billions of dollars a year in revenue, so we definitely should not question any articles that debunk this find. To be fair, these effects aren't exactly 100% confirmed and could very well be a placebo effect, but that sure didn't stop others from hopping on the Bacillus F bandwagon. German actress Manouche began self-medicating the bacteria and reported being able to go for longer runs, feeling less cold in the winter, and her skin just feeling softer and younger. Brushkov and his team insist the effects of Bacillus F are clear and significant, although they admit they're not yet sure why it has the effect it does. But if they can manage to isolate the gene responsible for the positive benefits of the bacteria, they may have just discovered the ultimate elixir of life. As long as there isn't, you know, a whole ass industry with infinite money that tries to stop it.
The elixir of life. I gotta believe that, man. Like I said, it could be a placebo effect, but I mean, if you can inject yourself with like a million years old bacteria, you have to be pretty sure to do that. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Go down that rabbit hole.
1990, discontinued twice and brought back. But what was the problem? Well, the shape of the mouth didn't help. But the only thing they actually changed were the words in the jingle. A certain part they decided to cut out.
I'm Mr. Bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Vegetables in my top. I'm Mr. Bucket. Out of my mouth, I will pop. I'm Mr.
What the f-
She explained to Robert that she wanted him to torture her while they were intimate and then to take her life. On October 13th, Sharon told her husband that she was planning to visit family and friends in Georgia. She left a note from her husband that she wasn't going to be returning and to not track her down. She then got into her car to make a 4-hour journey to meet Robert. She drove halfway to North Carolina and then took Amtrak to where Robert was. He picked her up and then drove her to his mobile home. The pair spent 3 days together before Sharon's death. No one really knows what happened during those 3 days. Sharon's husband ended up finding the note and notifying police, and that's when we discovered the emails between Sharon and Robert on her. Police were watching Robert's house for a couple of days, hoping to see Sharon alive, but they never saw her exit the home, so they issued a warrant for his arrest. They took him into custody and charged him with manslaughter. While police were searching Robert's home, they found Sharon's decomposing body in a shallow grave in his backyard. Robert initially claimed that it was all an accident, but the emails told him it was
4K.
Robert pled guilty to manslaughter and he was only sentenced to 4 years in prison. 2 years into Robert's sentence, he ended up suffering from a fatal heart attack. He was actually scheduled to be released from prison in just a few weeks.
Extinct animals scientists are close to reviving. Firstly, the woolly mammoth. It was believed to have gone extinct 25,000 years ago, but scientists discovered hundreds that just died recently. So they're planning to put its DNA inside African elephants, and they expect to bring them back in the next 5 years. Next, dodo birds were hunted to extinction 400 years ago, but a preserved head was recently discovered. By mixing that DNA with a maned pigeon, dodo birds should be coming back in 15 years. Finally, expect to see saber-toothed tigers outside soon, because scientists discovered DNA preserved in tar pits, and they plan to combine it with African lions. So this 10-inch tooth beast should be coming back in 10 years.
That's throwing off the environment, man. They shouldn't be doing that.
Never slice tomatoes this way. So when this guy noticed that his boss was slicing tomatoes one by one, wasting a lot of time, he decided to show him a trick that everyone should know. He took a plate, put a few tomatoes on it, covered them with another plate, and in one move, he sliced more tomatoes than his boss in an hour.
This pedophile artist still has an incredibly successful career after he was convicted. Meet Nobuhiro Watsuki. So Nobuhiro is from Japan. He was born in Tokyo, and he started drawing from a very early age. Eventually, Nobuhiro began publishing his manga. He started winning awards and began making a name for himself in anime. Now, a lot of people will recognize this guy's art, his works, but his most popular work has to be Rurouni Kenshin. I totally said that wrong, I'm sure. For decades, Nobuhiro was one of the biggest manga artists and authors in all of Japan. Like I said, receiving a lot of awards. But in 2017, Japanese police raided Nobuhiro's office. And inside of his office, they found 100 DVDs. Each one of these DVDs contained CP or CSAM. And all of these videos and photos featured children in their early teens. I mean, absolutely disgusting stuff. But what did the authorities in Japan do after finding this? Was he given a long prison sentence? 100 DVDs is a lot. Nope, he was fined about $1,500. That's right, he served 0 time in jail or prison and had to pay $1,500. And then shortly afterwards, his serialization of his manga continued, basically as if nothing had ever happened. Now, I'm not really a manga anime guy, but I'm sure that a lot of people on here are, and will definitely recognize this work. And I'm sure that a lot of the people that read this stuff don't know the history of the author. And in my mind, somebody who's convicted of a crime like this should never be supported in any sort of way. Financially, artistically, it doesn't matter. This is the type of guy that should be cut off from society. But he was pretty unrepentant, obviously, a $1,500 fine. I would definitely myself encourage Japanese authorities to go check this guy's hard drives nowadays. But as for now, he's pretty much untouched.
Have you ever seen a
That's
Mickey
insane,
Mouse
man.
gas mask? These were made to calm terrified children. About a month after Pearl Harbor, Walt Disney was in Washington, D.C. to design and discuss Mickey Mouse gas masks for children. 1,000 of these were produced and given away to key members of Congress to help support the project. At the time, President Roosevelt even received one. Walt Disney also came up with drawing designs for Pluto and Three Little Pigs gas masks, although these ones never reached production. They attempted to keep the fun element in something as grim as gas raids. During these raids, children would be persuaded to regard the whole thing as a game.
That's crazy, man. A freaking Mickey Mouse gas mask? Makes you wonder, man, what other freaking, I guess, companies and stuff made things in that time. But like I said, there was only 1,000 of them, so obviously it was a limited number. That's just a dark time, man, in history. Kids had to think it was a game.
And curtain number 1 is... Correct! Wait.
That's an edit.
You don't remember what she looks like?
Call them out.
Here are the craziest things to ever happen at Walmart. So one day, an 18-year-old was craving milk. So he decided to steal not 1, not 2, but 26 gallons of milk from Walmart. Oh, and he did this dressed as a cow. And if that doesn't sound weird enough to you, you'd be surprised to learn that even though he made himself stand out in the cow costume, he managed to not get caught on the spot. Next, on Black Friday in 2013, a customer and his son were freaking out in Walmart because they thought that his ex-wife was possessed by a demon. And so they locked her in their car and set up an exorcism in the parking lot by throwing sacred oil at her, which might have been the reason why they ended up divorcing. Also, back in 2013, a 16-year-old was going into labor, and she gave birth in a Cannon City Walmart bathroom. Now, there was panic for a moment because the baby wasn't breathing, but luckily, one of the store's employees were CPR certified and they revived the baby. I guess Walmart really can help you live better. And finally, in 2011, at a Walmart in South Carolina, customers witnessed a man named Avery Blandon end the life of his wife, Lilia Blandon, while she was working inside the store's bank. Avery stabbed her multiple times, and she sadly passed away on the way to the hospital. He then tried to escape the scene, but he crashed his SUV and was caught by police. But what's weird is that the store stayed open during the investigation, only in Walmart.
Did you guys see this video of these two planes that almost crashed into each other in midair? It was all caught by this police officer's dash cam. This all happened last month in Syracuse, New York, when a Delta airplane was cleared to take off, while at the same time an American airline airplane was cleared to land in the same runway. So the Delta airplane was on its way to LaGuardia Airport while the American airline plane was arriving from Washington Reagan Airport. What's crazy is that these two planes were only 725 feet away from each other in the air, but from the ground's point of view, they looked so much closer. At one point, the two planes were side by side, and that should not be happening for obvious reasons, which is why the job of an air traffic controller is so important. This error was completely on the air traffic controller, who shouldn't have cleared both airplanes at the same time. It's still unclear why and how this happened, but they're still investigating. Thankfully, both planes did not collide, and all 159 passengers are safe.
It's official.
That's insane to think about, man. Like, they were literally like that close. Like, there's like a hair off if something happened, man. Like she said, it was the air trafficker's job. That they need to, whoever's there that day, they had to get their freaking job reviewed or something like that, because they obviously was not paying attention. Flights, man, one of the most scariest things, man, that can happen. Fun fact, I've never been on an airplane before yet. I've never flown yet, so that just raises my anxiety.
Aliens exist. These are the remains of non-human creatures. They were presented to a hearing in Mexico's Congress, which is investigating unidentified anomalous phenomena. The hearing was told that the specimens were found in Peru in 2017 and apparently are 700 and 1800 years old. People online were quick to compare the likeness to that of E.T. from the movie. One user wrote, "No way, they can't be that small. Those are mutated cats." But looking at a picture that was released of their skull skull, this is no cat, which is eerily similar to a skull they found in 2021. What's worse is experts testified under oath that one of them is seen to have eggs inside it, and both specimens were said to have implants made of very rare metals. And even though the aliens are pretty small, you can tell that this is clearly something different. I ain't gonna lie, this guy looks like he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow. Let's take one last look. Do you believe in aliens?
Morbid Facts, Part 402. George Lopez has a genetic condition that caused his kidneys to slowly deteriorate. So when he needed a new kidney in 2005, his wife Ann gave him one of her own. A couple years later, George reportedly cheated on his wife, then divorced her in 2010, all while wearing her kidney. The first scientist to observe penguins engaging in gay intercourse, rape, and necrophilia was so disturbed that he tried to obscure his findings to prevent people from knowing the truth about penguins. In 1995, a substitute school bus driver in Illinois stopped at a red light with the back part of the bus still on some train tracks. The children were screaming for her to move the bus forward as a train approached, but she was confused about what they meant. The train struck the bus at 60 miles per hour and 7 children were killed. In 2018, Gloria Williams pleaded guilty to posing as a nurse to abduct Kamaya Mobley from her mother's arms in the maternity ward. She was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the same length of time Kamaya was separated from her birth family.
People freaking out nurses now? That was a dark case, man.
In 2011,
that was not it.
4-year-old Gabby Mann was living in Seattle, Washington with her family. One day, she dropped a chicken nugget onto the ground, and before she could pick it up, a neighborhood crow swooped down and took the free lunch. And because Gabby was a messy eater, she continued to drop food everywhere she went, and so she continued to inadvertently feed these crows. She grew to really enjoy the attention, and so she started feeding them huge portions of her lunch. When Gabby's mother discovered where most of her daughter's food was going, she wasn't upset. She was just worried her daughter wasn't getting enough to eat. They would go out and buy some food just for the crows. She and her mom began feeding the crows every day. Gabby went outside one morning to refill the peanut tray when she noticed there was a small earring. Over the following few weeks, when more and more little trinkets started showing up, Gabby's mom installed a camera. She was amazed to see the crows would come in and they would eat their food, and then they would leave behind these shiny little trinkets. But the crows' most astonishing gift came the following year. Gabby's mother was an avid photographer, and one day she was out by herself photographing a bald eagle. She managed to drop a lens cover to one of her cameras. That night, when she got back to her house, she couldn't believe what was sitting there. She ran back inside and pulled up the footage from the bird camera, and there it was, a crow coming into the yard with the lens cap in its mouth. This behavior is very significant because it means the relationship between the crows and Gabby and her mom was not a transactional one. Today, Gabby and her mother still feed the crows every single day, and the crows still love Gabby and her mother.
Okay,
it's like good karma coming back to you.
A pharmaceutical company that's trialing a new groundbreaking age reversal pill had such good results that the local news wanted to run a story on them. But before they even could published the video, the chairman and CEO died. You see, 6 months ago, this 12-year-old German Shepherd was near death. He had terminal cancer, was operated on, and his prognosis wasn't looking good. The dog's caretaker knew that an age reversal trial was being conducted on dogs, and so she asked if Zeus could be a part of it due to his dire situation. The pill's aim is to lengthen telomere caps on human stem cells, because as part of the aging process, our telomeres shorten, which increases the chance of age-related diseases and, of course, death.
If you can increase telomeres, you can reproduce stem cells and keep repairing things so that you can get literally younger.
They said that in their drug's preclinical data from a previous in vitro human cell study, it showed that the medication lengthened telomeres by almost 200%. Zeus was granted access to the medication in April, and his caretaker said that she saw results almost immediately.
He's doing marvelously. He goes out to our pool and he swims and he has fun and he plays with the tennis ball.
A recent scan showed that the cancer in his body had completely disappeared, and the results were so remarkable that she asked for more to give another 12-year-old dog that could hardly walk due to arthritis. And just last week, she said that he had started galloping and running again. But then, despite all of that, he hit us with this.
And we are sad to report that since this interview was conducted, Dr. Christopher Chapman has recently passed away.
On the company's website, they announced his passing, saying, out of respect and privacy for Dr. Chapman's family, details of the 71-year-old's passing will not be made available. And then added that to support the new chairman and CEO, 3 telomere directors have voluntarily resigned. Human trials for this drug are planned for mid-2025.
The rarest things in the world.
What do you think happened?
Vaquita, only 10 left in the wild. Rarest gem on earth, Painlight, worth $60,000 per carat. Rarest poker hand, the royal flush, 1 in 655,000 chance. Rarest element on earth, as the time, less than 1 gram on earth exists. Rarest car, Ferrari 250, Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo? Didn't they make a movie about that?
Okay, this is getting hard to believe, but there has just been reports of a second wave of explosions in Lebanon, but this time it's people's walkie-talkies. So yesterday, Hezbollah fighters' pagers, today, their radios. Initial reports are saying that the most recent wave of explosions have caused cars and houses to be set on fire, and there were even reports, this one's crazy, that one exploded at a funeral of someone who died from yesterday's explosions. And while I'm on the topic of explosions, you're going to see a lot of reports of people saying explosive devices found at Trump rally, even going as far as saying third assassination attempt, question mark. Let me just save you some time. That is a false report. There's going to be a lot of corrections. Don't worry about it. I'll keep you updated.
Imagine being kidnapped, locked in a basement, and then when the police come, they just leave you there to die. Back in the 1980s, many girls in Belgium were just randomly vanishing without a trace. This guy right here, Mark Detroit, was the guy who was doing all of this. Now in his early years, he had a lot of relationship issues and ended up marrying his second wife, Michelle Martin, this woman right here. What these two would do together genuinely will make you feel sick. Major trigger warning, if you're easily scared, please just keep on scrolling right now. This is your final warning. On June the 7th, 1985, they took their first victim, who was an 11-year-old girl walking home from school, which they kidnapped. They took her back to their place, armed her, and then took a photo of her after this before just releasing her. Now they did this tons of times before actually being caught by the police the first time, but then it got far worse. So they were both arrested but got a very, very short sentence and were out in no time. Mark was released in 1992 after serving literally 3 years in prison for all of this. Of course, the reason they were caught the first time was because the victims they let go free had reported them, so they built this literal dungeon in the basement of the house where they would keep people. He went on to kidnap at least 6 people in the space of a couple of years and left them all in here. At this time, the news was going crazy in the local area because tons of girls were going missing, no one knew where they were, but they were all in here. Now, even crazier again, Mark's own mother actually reported him to the police and they still didn't go round. And she even told the police that he literally had girls captive in the basement right now and the police did nothing. Not long after this, though, Mark was actually arrested for something completely separate, stealing a car, and he told his wife she would have to keep the girls in the basement alive by watering them and feeding them. Yeah. Now, by far, the most angering part of this whole story is that the police finally went round and did a check on the house. He literally heard children screaming and begging for help, and they walked out. They did nothing. Because apparently it sounded like the screams were coming from outside and just kids playing a prank or something. Like, what? There was even undeveloped camera film on the side here, which they just didn't develop, but if they did, they would have seen literally everything. Now apparently this woman was too scared to go into the basement and look after the girls, so tragically passed away. When he finally got out, he started again and more girls started vanishing, until eventually someone came forward after spotting him in a van, basically while in the act. He then confessed, showed the police the whole basement and everything, and even showed them where some bodies of people were. He also reportedly had another accomplice that they had a disagreement, and he unalived him and buried him in the house as well. After the whole case came to a close, she got 30 years in jail and he got a life.
Facts that you wish you never knew.
Tell us about
Part 16. Kangaroos are absolutely terrifying, and if you mess with one, it will likely lure you into the water and attempt to drown you. There's an abandoned Disney park that you aren't allowed to go to, and it was shut down in 1999 because it was infested with free-roaming alligators. The animals were being abused, and an 11-year-old boy died from a flesh-eating bacteria found in the park's waters. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion's costume was made out of a real skinned lion. This is the John Lawson house. No one knows who lives there, but every single day, there are several female mannequins sitting on the front porch wearing a variety of clothing. Their positions and outfits change daily, and many believe this is meant to convey some sort of message. And in 1871, a train crash took place just 200 feet away from the home, killing 22 people. And these mannequins are always pointing toward the crash.
Tap in, you're gonna learn some
disturbing
facts with
facts
us.
That will ruin your life. There used to be real human remains in the Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean ride. There are at least 200 corpses on Mount Everest. There is no physical evidence to say that today is Sunday. We all just have to trust that someone has kept count since the first one ever. The human brain not only named itself, but it also recognized that it named itself, and was surprised when it realized that. No one knows exactly how anesthesia works anytime they put you under for a routine operation. There's currently no scientific explanation for why you are unconscious. Hit the plus sign if these disturbed you.
That last one got me about the anesthesia. So we're pumping our body full of medical supplies and stuff, but we don't even know how it truly works or functions. What happens if something goes wrong or something like that and they can't detect what's going on because they don't know the full extent of anesthesia? I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, but you guys know what I meant. That actually shocked me, bro, that we still don't know the full effects of that. That's mind-blowing if you really think about it, man. And the fact that the brain named itself? Let's continue, man. Crazy.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. There are thousands of old diseases frozen in the glaciers of the world, and global warming will eventually release them all.
Oh, man.
If a person dies in their costume at Disney, like Mickey Mouse, they have to be sat down on a bench so it looks like they're resting. Climate change is making spiders bigger. Some female spiders allow their young to eat them alive. Tooth in the eye surgery is when surgeons put a tooth in a blind person's eye to restore their sight. It was pioneered in the 1960s, and it actually works, and it's still being done today. The chances of a successful CPR outside of a hospital is only 7%. Cell phones are 10 times dirtier than a toilet seat. When you suddenly wake up during the night without any reason, there was someone or something staring at you. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 12.
Tap in, man. Especially about the part with the cell phones. That's actually crazy. Watch where you put your cell phone at. It's dirtier than the toilet seat, man. Damn. I gotta disinfect my phone daily now.
The 5 countries in Africa with the strongest juju.
Okay.
At number 5, we have the Republic of Congo. Here, witchcraft is said to be practiced across all ages in the region.
Ooh.
In fact, in a 2013 report, a staggering 50,000 children were accused of witchcraft in the Republic of Congo. Most of the accusers claimed that these children had showcased bad behavior and were therefore possessed. Number 4, Kenya. The practice of witchcraft is said to have become so prominent in Kenya that it has been commercialized. In just about every suburb of Nairobi, you will find at least one advert, hand-painted on a little plate nailed up on a pole, advertising the services of a witch doctor. There are also numerous stories of Nairobi women using these witchcrafts to secure men. Number 3, Malawi. In Malawi, there are 2 districts where it is said that the residents partake in advanced levels of sorcery.
It is rumored that there are men there who possess the power to travel from Malawi to the USA in seconds. Number 2, Zambia. It is said that the practice is very alive and well in Zambia. There have been several reports of severely sick Zambians who were healed completely after a quick visit to their local witch doctor or traditional healer. Number 1, Nigeria. Nigeria's exploits in this regard has gathered a lot of media attention over the years, with people said to be using witchcraft and sorcery to attain wealth, secure wealthy partners, and battle enemies. Fourth one.
Here's what would happen if you were born on a plane. Let's say you were born on Turkish Airlines. They would have to pay your tuition and you would have free tickets for life. And while flying over a country, you would immediately become a citizen of that country. That's cool. However, in special cases, the airline you are on will also grant you their citizenship. So hopefully, you're on a good airline.
So if you're born over, like, so I'm guessing if you're born on a plane or you're going over the country, you become a citizen. They said they have to pay for your tuition and get a free passport there. People about to be saving money, man. Whoever had if he can, I guess, kid on a plane where they get dual citizenship. I never knew that.
This is the last thing anyone expected. Just within the last 24 hours, footage of where Ryan Garcia had claimed to be kidnapped has just been released.
Oh, they took me to the woods, bro, and they I'm not joking, bro. I have proof, bro. I don't give a bro, I will show you every video you could ever believe. Bohemian Grove is real. They tied me down and they made me watch, dog. I absolutely don't give up anymore. Yes, I lost it. There'll be little kids.
Now, this is exactly why you can't be playing both sides, because after this video and audio footage was released, he had tweeted on how he has been going through some intense spiritual attacks and constantly fighting demons. And even if you look at one of his most recent conference gatherings, you can see him manifest from one person to another.
First, I want to give glory to Jesus Christ. I want to invite the Holy Spirit to come. I do drink. I do smoke. Now what? Alright, what if I came up there and I fuck out of you, motherfucker?
The orange cat, who was accepted by a herd of capybaras at a Malaysian zoo, has received his own official signage and is now an official resident of the capybara habitat at Zoo Negara. The cat's name is Oyen, and it's believed he lost his mother as a kitten, but he found his family in the capybara habitat, and he seems to think of himself as just another capybara. And the capybaras are just as comfortable with Oyen, happily welcoming him into the herd. He's been seen within the habitat for the past several years, and over time he's become so popular that some people visit the zoo specifically to try to catch a glimpse of him. Because he's such a beloved resident of the zoo, and he's made clear that he intends to stay with his capybara friends, he finally received his official signage in front of the habitat last month. Now, the capybara habitat is officially Oyen's home. Zoo staff has indicated that Oyen and the capybaras are happy and healthy with no signs of distress, so they're happy to let the friendship continue. And while Oyen has been spotted snacking on some leafy greens with his friends, he is fed his own cat-friendly diet by the zoo. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day. And you can see more from Oyen and the capybaras on Zoo Negara's account, which is tagged and in the caption.
It's crazy. He just integrated himself with the herd. Guess that goes to show you it doesn't matter who or what you are, man. Become a part of that herd. They'll accept you, what you are.
There are 800 dead people in this lake.
Come again?
That got your attention, didn't it, you sick son of a bitch? This is Rupkund Lake in the Indian Himalayan mountains. And this remote alpine valley is home to the skeletons of between 300 and 800 individuals. Their bones lie scattered along the lakeshore and constructed into grotesque sculptures by passing hikers. Since its discovery in the 1940s, countless papers, studies, and theories have been put forward to answer one simple question. What happened at Rupkund Lake? Why did so many unfortunate souls lose their lives in this remote mountain pass, and what happened to them? Now, if you've heard of this, you may think you're familiar with the answer, that it was a group of pilgrims that were struck down by hail. Recent studies have uncovered that the truth is much, much stranger. So tonight we're going to go over this mystery from top to bottom. Try and finally answer the question, what happened at Rupkund Lake? YouTube channel, Mini Minute Man. You only see me from short form content? Come check it out. It's like short form, but a lot longer. I'm gonna go put on my wetsuit, and I'll see you there.
Part 24
what
is
happened?
the most horrifying stomachanophobia things I've ever seen in my life. This guy is named Brickley, and he's at Disney Springs, and he is a gigantic, huge, 50-foot long,
25-foot tall dragon entirely made out of Legos.
Whoa.
A lot of people, he might not be scary. He's kind of silly looking, but the fact that he is absolutely ginormous is actually horrifying to me. His massive head alone is about twice the size of a human being. Nope. He's also made of about 3 million Lego bricks. I know you think, like, oh, I could deck him. I could just make him explode. I'm pretty sure he's glued together with, like, super glue, so you couldn't do that. That was definitely my first thought, that I could take him in a fight. Also, he's been there for about 30 years, so you can see the corrosion starting. I can't imagine what it looks like underwater. How about this? Does this scare you, or is it just silly?
It's been there for over 30 years? I wonder who built him.
Never say this out loud, or you will die. There's a cursed Japanese poem called Tornado's Hell. And supposedly, if you read it out loud, you will die or be cursed for life. Now, you can read it in your head. This is where things get crazy. A man named Shuji Teriyama decided to make and direct a movie based on the poem. Exactly 1 week after the release of the movie, he suddenly dropped dead. By the way, y'all, I asked y'all to name our new baby, and the highest voted name was Steve. So I guess when this guy hatches, his name will be Steve.
Since we got this baby together, you do owe me child support.
Now this other story is also crazy. There was a schoolgirl that was dared to say the poem out loud. Look, you got friends daring you to do stuff like that. You need to get rid of them. Literally 1 week after doing the dare, she suddenly dropped dead.
Woo, look at that, baby. Look at that. Sheesh.
I flashed the poem somewhere in this video, but I'm telling you, if you find it, don't read it out loud. Or I'm gonna come to your funeral and tell everybody you're stupid. You're stupid.
I ain't reading that poem. Too many bad energy, too many bad signs.
The Power of Time. This sculpture at an abandoned cemetery in Poland is slowly being absorbed by a tree. The black spots on this dog faded over 10 years. I didn't know it could happen. Bones now versus phones 20 years ago. Which one would you pick? This father and his daughter and cat 10 years apart. Adorable. These two brothers returned to Chernobyl and recreated the same pictures after 30 years. And the tiny car was still there. Subscribe for more.
How the hell did they get into Chernobyl? Isn't that where that it's like one of the most radioactive places on Earth? How the hell were they able to travel there? Were they even let inside there? It's crazy. And everything was still the same 30 years later. It goes to show you, man, how nothing's around that place. It's completely desolate. There's the sky, man. We know we can spot the edits, man. When we see these clips, we can spot them, bro. We experts now.
Oh shit!
What the fuck?
Yeah, that video's fake, but this is as real gets. Proof that dinosaurs never left, they just rebranded with feathers. Allegedly, this is a stellar sea eagle. Many would say the biggest eagle on Earth, although some would like to have a word. Matter of fact, here's the biggest eagle in your area code based on where you live. South America, you get the homicidal hippogriff, the harpy eagle. A buckbeak-coated middle finger to the food chain. Nature gave them short wings, and they used them to commit flybys in the dense jungle. They also have claws that could dap up a grizzly bear. With America, we got the golden eagle, also known as a final destination for goats and chamois. That's a chamois. This bird will make an honest attempt on the life of anything with a pulse, which is why they have a hit list of over 400 animals. The African crowned eagle is like the harpy of the motherland. Same short wings, same claws, same problems. They've also allegedly murked small children, and the famous tongues child, which you see right here, is widely believed to have been escorted off the census by an African crowned. Wedge-tails are the dinosaurs Australia deserves. Not only will they run fades with kangaroos, they'll fly anything in their presence, and you're liable to get drone strike. This is the Philippines eagle. If you've never been flexed on by a bird, get absolutely mauled. It's a monkey eater that also has an argument for being the biggest op in the sky. Although they're endangered, so really they should be afraid of us. Moral of this video, the most devious trick dinosaurs ever pulled was convincing you they left in the first place.
Have you heard about this man who passed away while squatting 400 pounds? 33-year-old Justin Vicky was a bodybuilder and personal trainer with more than 30,000 followers on Instagram. Justin was a regular at the Paradise Gym in Bali, but on July 15th, 2023, he attempted to squat a total of 400 pounds but things went horribly wrong. Mind you, this was all caught on camera, but I don't want to upload it because of TikTok's policies and I don't want this video to get taken down. But basically, during one of Justin's sets, he failed to lift the bar back up and it snapped his neck. He only had this person spotting him, which a lot of people have said that he should have had at least 2 other people on both sides to support him in case something like this happened. This video shows the moment Justin falls forward and his neck gets crushed. It was reported that the force of the weight broke Justin's neck and compressed the vital nerves that connected to his heart and lungs. He was rushed to the hospital where he unfortunately passed away.
You know, I don't think I really hate any animal. Every animal has a purpose, except this. I hate this bird, I hate everything it stands for. In fact, if he had an Antarctic Antichrist in its cast, that movie would have been a snuff film. This is a giant petrel, but if you're a sailor, you probably know it by its street name, the Stinker. Because this satanic seagull on steroids is a meal plan of rotting, decaying, disease-ridden foulness I can't even imagine. Or maybe I just don't want to. And like an air-conditioned vulture, they have the same table manners, meaning they'll pull up to a corpse and start eating it from the softest point. So if you ever peep this flying, confident, red-faced Noah just got done tossing an expired elephant seal salad, which makes their choice in self-defense somehow more offensive. Press a petrol or its kid and it'll projectile vomit foul-smelling corrosive stomach oils right to the face. Oils that are so acidic they can actually strip the waterproof coating off other birds' feathers. You know, I said vultures, and that's not fair. These vultures usually wait for you to die. Petrels do no such favors. Pain with paralysis demon will snatch up miners like Dan Schneider and rip them open alive. And remember, the Stinker will pull organs right out the poop chute. The freeze-dried booty bandit has been known to drown other birds like the Australian gannet. You wanna know what this predatory prostate exam is? This is if hyenas had wings. And don't think they just go after chicks. If they find an injured penguin, they will personally speedrun the process. Well, actually not speed, because again, the anal undertaker don't wait for you to pass tense. It's like the booty warrior from Boondocks came back as a bird. Blights in the animal kingdom with a negative rice purity score with a wingspan that can reach a shack. Alright, I'm done. They're not that bad. I just don't like the way they sound.
They're crazy, man. That's Black Air Force energy right there.
The red heifer sacrifice ritual. What is it really? Let me summarize this for you.
Okay.
In Judaism, Jewish people are impure, and for them to be purified, they must sacrifice a very rare breed of red cows known as the heifers. Now, the cow must pass a certain list of criteria, like having no spots, never bred, must be a certain age, doesn't have black or white hairs, etc., etc. And then afterwards, they must light this cow on fire, involving some cedar wood and sage. I'm not really aware of the technicalities. But then they use the ashes of this cow for purification of the Jewish people. This sacrifice ritual must be done in Jerusalem, facing the third temple location, which is the Aqsa Mosque. These cows are super rare. The last time this ritual was done was 2,000 years ago. Israel has found 5 cows that meet this criteria in Texas. They bought them for $500,000 and then flew them to Israel over a year ago. And the sacrifice will commence in Jerusalem before the 8th of April, which is next week. But what is the purpose of this sacrifice ritual? Number 1, purification for Jews. And number 2, the coming of their Messiah. And to us Muslims, this Messiah is the Dajjal, the Antichrist. It is not the Messiah that we await. This is not an ordinary sacrifice. This is a sacrifice to the devil. I'm sure some of you will say in order for the Dajjal to come, he's not supposed to be mentioned in the minbar for many years. But I can argue with that because the Dajjal has not been mentioned on the minbar in most regions for many, many years. So is he coming?
Okay.
Probably, yes. If they do the red heifer sacrifice, destroy the Aqsa Mosque, and build a third temple, he will come.
A lot of information, man. All those clips that were shown to us. It's crazy.
This is the scary story about the woman in the night. A young man moved into an apartment building. The first night he slept in his new apartment, he was woke up by somebody knocking on the door at 1 o'clock in the morning. He got up and opened the door, and standing there was a young woman. She apologized for waking him up and told him that she was his neighbor. She said her husband was beating her and asked if she could spend the night on the sofa. The man felt bad and let her stay the night even though it seemed strange. The next morning, he checked the living room and discovered that the woman was already gone. He assumed that her husband and her made up. But that night, at the same time as before, the same girl was knocking on the door. The man opened it and she said her husband had beaten her up again and wondered if she could spend the night on the sofa again. He said yes, and the next morning when he got up, the woman was gone again. The man grew suspicious and asked his landlord about the strange neighbor. The landlord's face grew pale and said nobody lives in that apartment. He said a woman who lived there died 1 year ago after being beaten to death by her husband.
So what the hell was going on? Was he like communicating with a spirit or something? Someone's playing like a sick joke because he kept coming to the apartment like the same night after night at the same exact time, dude. Is that just a story? Got a lot of theories swirling around in my head right now after that clip played.
They kidnapped her for 44 days straight. Damn. The whole time, the 44 days, they were torturing her during these 44 days. It wasn't just those 3 guys that tortured her. Yeah, Denzel told me on the like. Yeah. Yakuza, there was at least 100 Yakuza members who came and helped torture. Yeah. One day, she caught them slipping, got the phone, tried to call the police. One of the guys saw, slapped the phone out of her hand, and he was mad, right? So I think they took lighter fluid and burned parts of her. Right? The crazy thing is, she survived that. No way. Yeah, a couple days went on. They were playing a game. The girl beat the guys at the game. They're even more mad. They're like, what the fuck? So her again. This is when she died, and then I think to end the story, they put her in this little like casket thing where there was cement, and they buried her alive. I think the police found out. The main guy, he was locked up. Yeah. But the other guys, the police didn't want to put out the names because they're all minors that did the shit. So they're all free right now. Damn. Yeah.
Terrifying sounds extinct animals used to admit, and the last one's the worst. If you don't know this extinct mega chicken, you must be living your life under a rock. This is a dodo bird. 3 feet tall, 45 pounds, and a pair of chicken wings that are more useless than a penguin's. It can make an omelet for a family and produce a sound that would cause me to move to Mars. The lizard that got into your bag of Treman, the velociraptor. Or should I say Jurassic Myth, because they didn't look like this at all. Hollywood lied to you. Oh. At least the film's fuck-up looks more like a Utah raptor. This is actually what a velociraptor looks like. It's basically also just a giant chicken. Moving 25 miles per hour and hunting in packs isn't the scary part. It's the way they sound. The only difference between this next animal and my meat is that it went extinct, the Titanoboa. And if this BGC's length at 50 fuck-no feet isn't impressive enough, how about its 3 feet in girth? This twisty telephone pole could squeeze at 400 psi, crushing any 20-foot crocodile that lived at the time. And this no-bro makes a sound like no other. The extinct blubberbuzz that used to swallow the megalodon, the Leviathan whale. This living sea monster is a distant cousin of our daily sperm whale. Except unlike the living load we have today that primarily consumes giant squid, the Leviathan had no predators and ate everything. And the sound alone is enough to terrify me. Congratulations, you made it to the final animal. And I'm sorry you have to hear this, but the T-Rex doesn't actually look this way. Real-life Reptar looks much more terrifying with a haircut like Grandpa. And boy, do I have news for you. Their arms weren't useless. It said that they could have bench pressed up to 400 pounds. And did I mention they can also swim? The sound they made is weird, but the closest relative they have alive today is also weird. It's the chicken. I'm so sorry it had to end this way. Enjoy.
What?
Unusual deaths in 2022. Just a few weeks ago, a 32-year-old man named Khalil Kimi was swimming at a pool party in Israel when all of a sudden a sinkhole opened up under the water, causing him to be dragged inside and sucked to his death. On January 5th, a personal trainer named Tom Mansfield died after ingesting an amount of pre-workout equivalent to 200 cups of coffee. The father of 2 reported that his heart started beating extremely fast and he was foaming at the mouth before he died just minutes later. The following day, on January 6th, a 16-year-old boy named Teddy Balkin was playing a JV hockey game when he fell to the ground and collided with another player. His neck was then slit by the boy's hockey skate and he died later in emergency surgery.
Hockey, man. Dangerous sport, bro. Risking your life.
I had to get myself up and out of bed for this because I'd never heard of this case before. Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Celestine. These are the 13 unaccounted minutes before Patrice Andres went missing. On April 15th, 2004, Patrice, who's a local salon owner in Georgia, walks into her shop and finishes her last client at exactly 11:37 a.m. Another client then calls the shop at 11:50, to which there's no answer, which is very unlike Patrice. In that 13-minute window, something happens in that salon where Patrice goes missing. The next client comes in to find the shop empty, and police are called to the scene, which is eerily undisturbed. Aside from some missing money in the register, there's nothing that's out of place, there's no sign of a struggle, even her lunch is still sitting there warmed up. But two separate witnesses would come forward to report passing the salon within that time frame. Both witnesses come forward to report seeing a light blue sedan parked out front and two unidentified women standing next to it. One of the women was described as tall with dark hair and the other short with light hair. These eyewitness accounts mark one of the only insights as to what happened in those 13 minutes. After 20 months of searching, her remains are finally found at the bottom of a ravine, but the manner of death is unknown. Initially, her husband is suspected to be involved as maybe a jealous spouse, but a scrutinizing investigation would rule him out. She leaves behind her 15-year-old son at the time, who till this day continues to search for answers as to what really happened to his mom on April 15th. So what are your theories as to those 13 unknown minutes?
It's kind of scary, man, how like that small amount of unaccounted time led to somebody's minds. Make sure you having to be aware of everything, man, even the minute details. Like I said, if it wasn't for those two people, eyewitnesses checking out that pulled up that blue sedan, they wouldn't have had nothing.
Creepy facts that you shouldn't read. Your mind gets sense when someone is staring at you even when you're asleep, which explains why you randomly wake up during the night. Spirits are more active at night and mostly exist in air-conditioned rooms. They look and stare at you at night. They read your mind and try to speak and show your future dreams. Follow if you're scared.
Interesting, spooky facts. You guys believe that?
Videos that seem innocent, but actually have a terrifying backstory. This video shows a man playing Dance Dance Revolution while some teens unknowingly record him and make fun of him. 6 months after this video was taken, this man, Adam Lanzo, would shoot his own mother 4 times in the head while she's sleeping, then drive to Sandy Hook Elementary School where he'd murdered 23 people. This video shows magician Tommy Cooper having a heart attack while on live TV. The audience, as well as his assistant, thought it was part of the show, so they laughed along while he died on stage. This video shows a popular CSGO streamer showing off his new McLaren. However, he was banned a week later for hacking, and this caused him to have a mental breakdown. So he purposely crashed his car into a van, killing himself, a mother, and her child. This video shows a band performing minutes before the venue burnt down and killed everyone inside. Even creepier, the band's name was Burn.
Damn, that's a freaking scary coincidence. All those creepy facts, man. It's like these pictures and videos, they have dark backstories you never know until you find out. Can't judge a book by its cover, that's what they say.
A 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
This is the devastating case of Kylie Rodney. On August 6, 2022, 16-year-old Kylie went missing at Prosser Family Campground in Truckee, California. Kylie attended a school party with more than 100 kids, but it's alleged that older people also showed up which made a lot of the teens uncomfortable. Kylie texted her mom right before midnight and told her that she would be home in 45 minutes, but the following morning, Kylie's mother got super worried when Kylie was still not home. One of Kylie's friends said that she was with her the entire evening until she decided to go home at 12:20 a.m. Police searched Prosser Lake for more than 15 hours but were unable to find Kylie's vehicle. But on August 21st, a group of divers who go by the name Adventures with Purpose decided that they would help look for Kylie. It didn't take the group of divers much time to locate Kylie's car, only 14 feet underwater. The car was upside down and Kylie's body was inside. The investigation is still ongoing and the autopsy results have not been released yet. So what do you guys think happened to Kylie? Was this a tragic accident or was there foul play involved?
Definitely had to be foul play, something. All those people showing up to the party, she got uncomfortable.
Dark things that happen at Disney, part 23. I actually got a lot of messages asking me to cover this case. On December 3rd, Chris Christensen passed away after jumping from a parking structure outside of Disneyland. This is reportedly the area that he jumped from, and that's where he landed. Now, it's a very sad and tragic case. It breaks my heart. So according to the letter that Chris left, him and his wife Marlena got in a really bad fight. He said their marriage was perfect up until that fight. She accused him of being aggressive and physical with her and their kids. Although Chris claims that that's not what happened and those claims were false. As a result, he spent the night in jail and he pretty much lost his job of being school principal. Chris said that he took his own life to escape his partner and these claims that she made up. It's a very touchy case. That's why I didn't really want to address it. But like I said, a lot of people told me to.
That case, when anything that was always Disney's now in the
Most
news, they always
unusual
seem to
deaths
be able
in
to
human
hide it.
history. Yuriko Onaja was in the middle of having sex with his 6th wife when his other wives caught him and became jealous. They forced him to do it with each of them and he stopped breathing before he could get to the 5th wife. A 32-year-old man from Florida, Edward Archibald, died from choking on arthropod body parts in a cockroach eating contest. When 25-year-old Salman Mirza met up with his ex-fiancée at a hotel in India, he realized that he didn't have protection. Salman then proceeded to seal up his pee-pee using a strong glue, causing him to die of organ failure. This past Halloween, a Brazilian man was fishing with his 2 friends when all of a sudden they were attacked by bees. The man attempted to escape by jumping into a nearby lake where he was attacked by piranhas and died. 42-year-old Tony Isles was in a McDonald's drive-thru when he dropped his credit card. He opened his door to retrieve it when his car rolled forward, pinning him between the door and the car, crushing him to death.
Crazy cases, man. You would never think in a million years that stuff like that would happen. Edit.
This is why you should never take walks alone at night. In 2007, a girl was on a late night walk when she looked at the end of the road and saw the silhouette of a man moving around very strangely. It was like he was doing the waltz, but he was moving towards her, so she was sketched out, crossed the road, and went the other way. After a couple minutes, she turned around to see what he was doing, and he was right across the street from her, now staring up into the sky with a huge grin on his face. Now totally creeped out, she turns around and walks about a half block before checking again, and to her horror, he's now crouched down right behind her. But luckily, he stands up, turns around, and kind of hobbles away. And then she notices something. The man had turned around and was now sprinting directly towards her. She runs to safety and now just hopes she never has to see that smiling man again.
The smiling man. It's that factor cap. That's scary.
Okay, these are terrifying facts to keep you up at night. Our first one is locked-in syndrome. And I hear you thinking, what is that? Well, locked-in syndrome is essentially sleep paralysis, but for comas. You could be put into a coma and have complete awareness of what's going on around you, but you can't move any of your limbs and you can't speak. People have described it as a living hell and the most terrible thing anyone can go through. How many of you are cat owners? Well, I hate to do this to you, but your furry best friend is not there for you. If you manage to die before your cat does, your cat will wait till you're dead and then begin to eat your body. And for this last one, I have to give you a warning. because if you don't like rats, it's going to ruin your day. Go onto Google Images and search up Rat King. Just look at it. And when you're done doing that, share this video with one of your friends to ruin their day.
I ain't doing that. Don't search up Rat King, y'all.
I haven't covered many cases that deal with the paranormal on this account, but this is a story that stuck out to me. Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Celestine. This story is from a woman named Whitney Renebe. The story takes place in a rural part of Oklahoma, sometime between 2019 or maybe early 2020. One night while her mother is just sitting in the living room just browsing through old photos on her phone, she comes across 3 pictures that startle her. On her camera roll were these 3 photos taken within minutes of each other around 3 in the morning just a few days prior. One is of her husband sleeping, one is of her daughter sleeping, and then one is of herself. She realized that no one else in the house had taken any of these photos, nor did her family have a history of sleepwalking. This is a family that has 5 dogs in the house, all of which tend to bark with strangers, but there was no sound that night. Till this day, she has no idea who took these pictures or how they were able to do so without disturbing the house or the dogs. The photos are a haunting mystery, leaving the family with one question. Who took these pictures?
Who took the pictures, y'all? They snuck in with no detection.
Let's talk about skinwalkers. They are said to be powerful witches and medicine men. They can even change their form to any animal they desire, including humans. But they mainly change into deer, wolves, and coyote. You know, dragon fruit ain't that good. The scary part is they say if you see one, they can steal your face and even your last scream for help. You might think this is like a folklore or a tale. People actually believe these are real. The scary part is there's actual videos of people seeing oddly walking humans screaming help in the middle of nowhere.
Is that a skinwalker, y'all?
See, they say skinwalkers pretend to be humans in distress, and if they're calling out for help, they're just trying to lure you in. Ashley. That's when they take your life and use your voice and your look to catch their next gullible victim. A man's wife wasn't even home, but yet somebody was calling him to come downstairs in his wife's voice.
Is that an edit, y'all? Is that legit? Don't trust it.
If you want me to go out in the middle of the field, at least shapeshift into like Rihanna or Beyonce. I'm making a mess, but this look good. I'll be there in a minute. 30 seconds flat. Naked. Very naked. Maybe even Lizzo. Let's light this candle.
What the? Skinwalkers, man. Should we check that out? I've seen a couple of videos, man. But I haven't deep dived into it yet. Edit. Gotta call it like I see it, man.
This is the Pitbull video, one of the hardest cartel execution videos to watch explained. The video that I'm about to explain is extremely graphic and I don't recommend searching for it.
I won't.
The video begins with a man lying on his back on the ground and 2 men are holding his legs open. He's being restrained. And in total there is 5 perpetrators and 1 victim. And also 2 pit bull dogs. Apparently, this is the victim's punishment for allegedly doing something with a kid or to a kid. The victim is naked, and at the start of the video, the dog has done most of the work. The dog already ripped off the man's privates, and it's just a bloody mess. The dog continues to rip pieces of flesh off of where his privates used to be, and the victim is being held down, and he is also gagged, so he can't scream. But sometimes the gag came loose, and at this point, you could hear the man scream in pain. The victim was even talking, but I couldn't translate it, but that means he was completely conscious during this, which I can't even imagine the pain. As a man, this might be one of the worst videos out there. Funky Town is bad, Ghost Rider is bad, but as a man, I can't imagine anything more painful than a pit bull ripping off your junk while you're still alive. Not many people mention this video with the other disturbing ones, but it's definitely up there. There's not any information about the victim after the video. I don't know if he died, but it's safe to assume he did. He lost a lot of blood, and if a dog eats your privates, you will most likely get an infection and die from it. All in all, this video is very graphic, very real, and very disturbing. Please do yourself a favor and never go searching for this video, especially if you're a man.
I never search for those video seekers. Do y'all? Me personally, I don't. What?
Someone recently asked me what the strangest thing I've seen in a police file is, and I think I have an answer. It's this trash can. Let me explain. So this trash can was found in Joan Rish's house in 1961, immediately after she went missing. Her young daughter had gone to a neighbor's house and told the neighbor that mommy is missing and there's red paint all over the kitchen. And when the police got there, they saw that the red all over the kitchen was blood. But there were also a few really weird details like this trash can, so the police had no idea what had happened to Joan. So first and foremost is the fact that this trash can is just in the middle of the kitchen. Normally it was under the sink, but here it is, just in the middle of the kitchen for no reason. And then the contents of the trash made no sense. So here is the phone receiver, which has been ripped from the wall. You can see in this photo here that the phone is still on the wall, but just the mouthpiece was ripped off and then moved across the kitchen and neatly placed on the trash. And on the phone was a fingerprint they could never identify. People hypothesized that maybe someone was there, and when Joan went to call for help, they ripped the mouthpiece off. Then there was this beer. So Joan's husband was out of town when this happened, but when he came back, he said that no one in the house drank Miller High Lifes. He didn't drink it, Joan didn't drink it, the trash had been taken out since the last time people were over, but yet there's Miller High Life next to the trash. Joan disappeared that day and was never seen again, and these two little pieces right here are some of the only evidence that someone else may have been in the house. They don't know if she ran away on her own, if she was taken, or what. But the whole story is really wild, and I tell it all tonight on the episode. Also, merch goes live when the episode drops.
These are the world's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Carrie Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home.
Hell no.
Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift from his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle. Known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren, we do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll.
What is it?
Because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
Robert the doll. I'm gonna have to look that up, man. There were people that would definitely write letters saying how they were sorry, taking picture videos of him without his permission. Some dark energy going on there. Edit.
This guy is the real Humpty Dumpty, and his story is much darker than you think. Deep in the eerie town of Puddlebrook, Kentucky, resided Gilbert Eggman, a man plagued by misfortune. His tale took a sinister turn when he joined the construction crew. Perched atop a towering brick wall on his very first day, 3 co-workers, fueled by malevolence, sent the ladder crashing down. Gilbert's pleas for help fell on deaf ears, Desperate to rescue him, the trio resorted to a crane. But destiny had other plans. The crane, guided by an unseen force, struck Gilbert, sending him hurtling to a grim demise. The town whispered of Gilbert's curse. In the following months, darkness consumed Puddlebrook. One by one, the 3 construction workers met their untimely ends, each death shrouded in mystery. Gilbert's curse, it seemed, had unleashed its wrath upon them, becoming an urban legend in the small town.
You won't believe what this person found on the dark web. The dark web refers to 80% of the internet that is not accessible through normal internet browsers. Here's why you should never go searching on there. This one person was searching around when they stumbled upon a live bid. Now, he didn't actually realize what they were bidding for, but he was watching it. When the bidding ended, it was revealed that it was for a woman tied to a chair. The winning bidder decided what happened to this girl. It ended up being a torture and murder live stream. To this day, it was never revealed who was behind this or who this poor girl was. That's really sad and messed up. But follow for more sad and messed up content, I guess. Also follow me on YouTube, link in bio.
Dark web, man. We've heard stories about that, but
this man has been sentenced to 100 years in prison after doing the unthinkable to his daughter. Tony Valles is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, 2 women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is Mr. Swirl, one of the worst pedophiles in world history. And let me tell you, this story is really disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. So this is Mr. Swirlface himself, Christopher Paul Neal. He was born in Canada in 1975. So Christopher had a pretty unremarkable childhood, but it should be stated here that he wanted to become a Catholic priest. But after the seminary denied him because he wasn't properly qualified, he decided to become a teacher instead. So Christopher eventually moved out of Canada. He moved to South Korea. That's where he was employed as a teacher. And suddenly, all of these images of CP started circulating around the internet. Christopher appeared in over 200 images of CP that he produced himself. And in every photo that he produced, he always put this swirly effect over his face, thinking that it would obscure his identity. Well, eventually German computer experts were able to unswirl the image. They produced this image to the left, and a number of people who knew Christopher contacted Interpol and told them, this is that guy. So once he was identified, Christopher fled to Thailand. That's where he decided he would make his great getaway. And while he was living in Thailand, he employed the services of a young boy who would go out to local internet cafes and bring Christopher other young boys that he would abuse and take photos of. But this didn't last long and obviously didn't work out for Christopher. In the year 2007, towards the end of the year, he was finally arrested by the Thai police. There's nothing that brings me more joy than seeing all these officers around this guy. And one thing that should be noted about Christopher is his unrepentant nature when he's photographed. You'll see what I mean. Pictures like these were taken by the press when he was finally arrested and brought to justice. So in Thailand, Christopher was sentenced to 39 months in prison and he was handed a $1,700 plus fine. But he later admitted to the crime, he was eventually released, and then he returned to Canada. Upon his return to Canada, he was immediately arrested at the Vancouver International Airport. Now, while Christopher was in Canada, CP was found on his phone and laptop. He was sentenced to a number of years in prison. But in March of 2017, Christopher was released from prison. He now lives in Vancouver somewhere, according to the internet. That's right, Mr. Swirlyface is currently out on the streets. I didn't know this. I think this is an absolute injustice to all the victims of this guy. This is absolutely a horrific story, and I cannot believe he's not serving more time for appearing in over 200 images of CP. It's crazy. But yeah, let me know below. Do you think this guy should still be in prison? I'm also going to be starting a true crime series talking about murders, conspiracies, all of the above on my YouTube channel, The Paranormal Files, so go subscribe if you don't already. But yeah, this story is unbelievable and sickening.
Insane. Just roaming the streets after all what he did.
I posted a video listing 8 horrifying facts about jinns. Number 2 from that list caught many viewers' attention. Let's have a look at that clip. Number 2, mythical creatures that we see in movies, such as dragons, mermaids, goblins, and trolls, are inspired by supernatural beings.
Really?
The jinns of the sky, the jinns of the sea, the jinns of the mountains, and the jinns of the caves. For hundreds of years, mythical creatures were always inspired by supernatural beings. Let's use mermaids as an example. In urban legends, mermaids are known to be sea creatures that lure sailors to their death by their enchanting voice. They are not as innocent and friendly as how movies make them seem. This is the only real video available online that could maybe prove a being of what seems to be a mermaid.
We got another one over here.
Alright.
What are those?
Whoa. Swimming side by side, something is weird. What the hell? This is all on 4K and this doesn't make national news or something?
What are those trails? What's something swimming fast underneath that water? Something swimming real fast underneath that water. I hear him. Where's he at? What the fuck is that noise, bro? What is that noise? Where are you?
Let's not forget the importance of oceans in the world of jinns. The most protected area in their whole world is on water. The throne of Iblis is on water. But the main question is, are these shape-shifting jinns half humanoids, half fish? Or do mermaids actually exist? Only God knows the answer.
Hit the nail on the head, man. What do you guys think? Like I said, half humanoid, mermaids, jinns. What do you guys think, man? But what he's saying was true, if you think about it, man. It's like every story, it takes inspiration from something, man. So these dragon, mermaids, and something, they had to originate from somewhere. We just truly don't know the origins behind it. That's why you gotta keep our mind open. YouTube, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today, man. If you guys enjoyed this video, could you guys do me a huge favor? Leave a thumbs up in this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, man. Like I said, also, man, comment down below, guys, what you guys want to see next, man. Like I said, I hope you guys been enjoying this new style and bring it to the channel. Talking less, pausing even way less, and just letting these videos play through. That's what you guys want. That's what I'm gonna do, man. And like you guys said, if you guys want me to switch up the videos, man, like I said, DM me the videos on Instagram, Twitter. That's why I said to follow me on there, so we can grow together, man. And I can get these videos out for you guys, man. What you guys want to see. You guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers.